What's going on, guys? Good morning. I'm sitting here with the new world record holder, Magnus Sheffield. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, where to even start? You just broke the junior world record in pursuing. You
Mhm.
don't really have much of a track, but I guess you do. You have a little bit of a track background, right? Like, where does that all kind of stem from?
Yeah, so the first time I rode the track was last year. I went out to one of the ODP camps because I had kind of thought about trying to go for this record, but I didn't have my own bike.
Yeah.
I don't live by a track, and so there were a lot of like these unknown kind of pieces in, um, and then like I don't want to say like with COVID like things kind of went my way, but um,
That's okay. You can say that because I mean, I feel like I've said that a few times on this podcast where I feel like
yeah.
for most pro cyclists, I feel like COVID's been maybe a bit of a relief. I wouldn't think it would be a relief for you, but
No, I mean, in spite of like everything happened, like I like to try to be a lot more optimistic about a lot of things and kind of look at the positive side. And like um, this past summer, like I got to train incredible amount, like completely uninterrupted from traveling and all kind of like that extra, like the negative side to the racing. Although like I was missing out on all these really big races and all these missed opportunities, but I also felt like it opened up a lot of different open doors. And so I was super fortunate about that happening. And obviously, like I spent 3 months in Colorado Springs and I got to meet a bunch of people, a lot of coaches, and I'm super thankful for kind of like the opportunity to open that door up for me.
no, yeah, that's super cool. And so, like, yeah, like how? So, when did you decide, like, okay, I'm still gonna go for this? Because with the ODP kind of phasing away, they've
Hmm.
just come out recently. I guess what this week with the ODA,
Yep.
but I think that has something to do with a little bit more of a wide range of athlete. But
Right.
what? Yeah. So how did the first step with the ODP go? And for people that don't know the ODP, it's the Olympic Development Program that I think was privately funded, which was coached by
Hmm.
Lee Povey and Ben Sharp, and it was track only focused.
Yep. Yeah, so I reached out to Ben and I actually sent like an email out to like Nate Wilson because he was the performance manager at that time. Is before Jim came back to
Yeah.
use cycling. So I sent an email out to him, I think Gary, and Ben, and I
Hmm.
just said, "Hey guys, I have this crazy idea. How can I make this happen? Or what are the steps that I need to do?" And then they kind of I don't know. I didn't get like negative feedback, but they were a little skeptical and like,
Gave you the
um,
runaround a little bit.
yeah, like I had to jump through some hoops. And so that first one was, all right, I have to go to this camp. And of course, I didn't own a bike. Like I had a road bike and a time trial bike, but I don't have a track bike. Um, and so Ben said, yeah, like it's okay to come. And so I went there. Um, I jumped through all the hoops, did all like they do like a lot of time standards. So I did all the time standards. And then I did a 3K there and I did like a 3:19 or something. Just like
Isn't that
kind of,
crazy to think about?
yeah, it's pretty
Like,
funny.
yeah,
But there were also like a lot of things that like I didn't really like. It was a bike. The position was horrendous.
yeah.
Um, and like who knows if even the position was illegal. Like I had these like 2000 or like it felt like 1990 like handlebars. Like it was just like pretty funny. But I mean, it got the job done.
Yeah.
And so that was last November. And then after that, like I didn't ride the track at all. Like I was just focusing on road. I really want to focus on the classics in the beginning of the season. And then also the main target was to do the Worlds in Switzerland, which was going to be really hilly. And so like I was managing my weight and really focusing on like that climbing aspect. And also the time trial, of course. And it wasn't until about, I would say like I think it was like August now that they like officially canceled Junior Worlds. And that's when I said, all right, like this isn't going to happen. Like I sat down with my coach, like my parents, and also like my team manager, Toby. And I just said like, all right, it's kind of it's a pretty shitty situation. Like,
Yeah.
how can we make anything out of this? Because the season, like for me at least, it felt like COVID, like we raced in the beginning of the year in February, March, we kind of raced. And then it was like, um, we were going to go to Europe, and then it was just always kind of like this postponing of events.
Yeah.
And I was continue training like the entire time throughout it. But it wasn't until like August where it's like, all right, really nothing that we thought was going to happen was going to happen. And
Mhm.
so then I said, all right, like I want to try now pursue this record, because it was something I'd plan on doing after the Worlds. Um,
Either way, so like even if
mhm,
track worlds didn't happen,
yep,
like maybe you got a shot at road worlds, but
yep,
either way you were going to go for this record. Is that why
yeah,
you were here in the Springs? Because you got here pretty early, right? I
yep.
would say.
So I flew into the Springs August 20th, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
Um, and so for a while, like it was hard for me to get into the OTC because like I'm not on the Olympic long list, and
Hmm.
um, luckily they were able to give me permission to come on campus and be able to start training on the velodrome. But I didn't start until like the second week in September. So I was staying at like um, friends' houses and like just kind of hanging around until I got permission to come on.
Right, Jeff
Um,
Pierce, I would assume.
yep, I stay with Pierce and then also Mike Creed, and those are
Yeah.
two awesome guys.
Yeah, I was about to. When I first moved here, that was the basement I lived in, man. So like the
Yeah,
amount of people that have come through that basement,
yeah.
it's kind of funny.
Um, no, that's funny. No,
Yeah.
Jeff's awesome. And so then like I had to do like the quarantine re-entry into the training center. And but once I was there, it was really nice. Like I had my own apartment. Megan was just across the hall from me, so like
Yeah.
because before I was just on my own.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to like have people to train with and like eat dinner and all the different meals with. And then like once I got onto the complex, then I was able to start training on the track. So we were training Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then road training outside.
Right.
Um, and that's also like the first time I had met Gary Sutton. And Gary is just like, he's by far one of my favorite coaches I've worked with.
Yeah.
Um, he's super funny, Aussie guy.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm super thankful. Like, in spite of everything happening this past year, like the past 3 months were just a blast. And
Yeah. And see, a lot of people can say that too about Gary. I mean, like his knowledge runs deep, and if even if you didn't know
mhm,
his background, which you know his background, right?
yep, yep.
Yeah.
And then
So,
also his brother, of
so
course.
yeah, yeah. So like there's that huge background of just him even being a cyclist and world
Yep.
championships and everything, and you would never know if you didn't really know him, and because he's a very humble dude, but he's also a very straight
Yep.
shooter, and he'll tell you like it is. He'll tell you
Oh,
what you need to
absolutely.
do, and
That's what that, and so that's what I love about Gary. And so it's interesting because I came to the track with very to little to no experience in
yeah.
Colorado. Not many people know this, but it's a concrete track. So it's 330 meters. It's inside this bubble that they put up 10 years ago now, maybe.
I want to say they put it up. Yeah, they put it up right before London,
Yep.
um, to like the year before because they wanted to stay at altitude and train.
Right. Yeah. So that's the other thing. It's at about 6,200 feet altitude. It's, however, not many people realize just how bumpy the track is because it's not a perfect wood track. And it's pretty good for pursuing because it's such a big oval.
It's all
Um,
power based though. You're not getting any
right.
forgiveness from the track.
Yeah. And like it's really hard to like, we always have this debate, like, all right, do you ride the black line, water line? Like what's better? Because there's
We're
like
still
these
having that
big,
debate. What's your thought on that?
I think you just have to hold on to the black line as
I
much as
agree.
possible.
I agree.
I think if it was a 250 for sure, the water line,
Hmm.
but the banks aren't quite steep enough. And like, it's funny, like, obviously I was training with the girls and like we would be warming up and like the banks aren't like, it's really awkward to do like a TP exchange because they're not that, it's just like this weird kind of like,
Well,
you
you
go
have
up.
to, depending on the speed, you have to like go up in turn one and
Yep.
then like coming down out of turn two to get really anything. And
Yeah.
it really just depends on the speed.
Yeah. But overall, like the whole, like this whole project, I think was super beneficial to me overall,
Mhm.
especially in the future, because like we're motor pacing almost every session. It's all speed and power work. And I was having continuous time like in that position, which I think is super important. And not enough people really train like their TT position. I know it's not a TT position, but they're very
You
similar. The
can get
first two.
close. I mean, but
Yeah.
it's kind of hard. Like that's not something you want to sit in for 40K, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But they're very similar. So in that aspect, I think it was super beneficial. Like the time I spent on the track.
Yeah, so when you pitched this idea, like
Mhm.
there had to be some pushback in August. Like
Oh, for sure.
you had to probably give some data or something. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because
Mhm.
I don't know if you've seen it. I've
Yeah.
seen it because I follow all those forums and stuff. But
Mhm.
people are upset they can't get on the track in Colorado Springs right now, which
Yep.
is understandable. Like I haven't been on the track since November of last year,
Right.
since Glasgow, and yeah, I can understand it. And so, but my thing is, it's like I bet if I could go, if I had data that was like, yeah, I could break the hour record, or
Yep.
yeah, I could break the 4K record, or
Right.
yeah, I could break the kilo world record. I could go 56 seconds.
Yep.
I could probably get on.
Yeah.
So, what can you talk about the steps that you kind of had and the hoops you had to jump through, or is it kind of a bit
It's a
enclosed?
big
If
gray.
so, yeah,
It's a big gray, but no, I'm happy to talk about
yeah.
it. Like, so the first time like I met Gary was at a coffee shop at Good Neighbors, which if you're from Colorado
That's his
Springs,
jam. Yeah.
like everyone knows Good Neighbors. So like
Yeah.
we sit down there, have a coffee,
Yeah.
which is like the most like classic Gary thing.
And wait,
Um,
so before you get going, so at this point, you're in Colorado Springs and there's no record on the table at this point, right?
uh, it,
Or
it's
are
just in
you
my head.
okay, so that needs to be said. See,
Yep.
when I heard that you were here, you were solely here to break the record. That's the
Yep.
only reason you were here. So,
Absolutely.
but but you had no access. Like nobody was willing to give you the access yet, right?
It was up in the air. So like
Okay.
I called Jeff Pierce and he spoke to Jim Miller because that's when he had come on board and he said, I said, Jeff, like this is what I want to do. Obviously, Worlds is canceled. This is everything I have because I had to have my own funding. I have the equipment. I had all these things that I'd been working on leading when I kind of knew that Worlds was very unlikely to happen.
Hmm.
And so Jeff, I think, really advocated for me and really supported me through this because he saw like the opportunity or the potential the guys had like on the for road worlds. And so I think he really wanted to help me out in that sense. And it also helped that like I showed like, all right, this is like I had a clear map that I talked about like with my own team. It's just that I needed them to now help me figure out the logistics and the smaller fine details.
Yeah.
Um, and so I met up with Gary. Clay was also there, although Clay isn't the men's coach anymore.
Okay.
And I just told them like, all right, this is my CDA. Like these are the numbers I need to do. This is where I'm at. The things I lacked mostly were um, just like the experience and like the technique aspect of the
Hmm.
track. I had the power numbers. I had the position dialed. I'd been to the wind tunnel previously. The skin suits I had dialed. The equipment I had like the frame and the gears and the bars. The only thing I needed were wheels and tires, really.
Which that's
Um,
easy. So USAC seems to have a
yep,
couple of those. Yeah.
USA Cycling was able to completely help me there. But my original plan was actually to go down to Aguas Calientes and set it
Cool.
there.
So
Um,
what did anybody do a data analysis
yep.
on what it would have been in Aguas?
Yeah. So it's funny you say that. So I wrote a 306 447.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do think if I had another month of preparation and um, I do think I could have gone a couple seconds faster in Colorado Springs if I had used a bigger gear.
Okay.
The gearing I used was a 60-15. I
Yeah.
think if I used like a 61-14, because I'm pretty punchy,
Uh-huh.
but I also have a pretty high threshold. Like if I had a bigger gear, it would kind of help govern me a little bit, and
Yeah.
then make the lap splits a little bit more even. Just because like my first K was kind of unreal, and then I
Yeah.
faded hard my
I'm not
third K.
I was watching and when I heard I think it was like you had maybe 750 meters to go. And I
Yep.
think I heard like an '09, and I was
Yep.
like, no, no.
Right. At that point, because I had started, like I heard that too, and like I was feeling a little shaky as well. But
Yeah,
um, because I had gone out so hard in the beginning, I knew like I kind of had it in the bag. I just had to maintain.
yeah.
Um, but of course, it's a 3 minute effort, so it's like there's not a
Well,
lot of
it
thinking.
can go south quick. It's one of those things that it's like, I mean, because put it into perspective. We take your start lap out. You
Yep.
did a 58-second kilo.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Like that's unreal. Like,
Yep.
and I didn't really look at the data completely, but
Yep.
I mean, based off like before they even called it, because I was just listening to the lap splits, like
Yeah.
you never hit a 21. So then in theory, your
My very
slowest
last lap was a 21
was
too.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So literally
Yep.
your lap splits, you did like a 102 last kilo, 1 minute flat front kilo, and a 105, right? Is
Yeah.
that
It
that's
was a
not
1
even
it was a
101,
1
101?
so I almost my standing kilo was actually I was a tenth off of getting the breaking the national record for the kilo.
Jeez.
Um, yeah, no, and so I think it's like
In the second one.
no, my standing kilo was a 104.57.
Okay. Oh, so that you're talking about the junior national record. I was thinking of a
Yeah.
58-second kilo
No, no, no,
that
no, no,
Eric
no.
did. I was like,
Oh no, that would be ridiculous.
wicked,
He
man.
did
That's
that in he did that in Mexico. Like
oh
I
yeah,
wouldn't
fair.
be close to
Yeah.
that.
So
Um,
so back on the topic, because everybody's probably like, "Shut up, John. We don't want to hear about Colorado Springs anymore." Tell us what you think you're, because I know it's going to be some ridiculous time, and that's why you're kind of nervous of saying it. But we used to always do this. We would always sit down and be like, "Okay, if this time was in August, what would it have been?"
it would
We think
probably it would
it's a
probably be
guesstimate.
it'd probably be around the 3 minute mark.
Three flat. That's
Yeah,
kind of
I
what
would
I
think so.
thought. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like if I
With
was
the
able
potential of probably going sub three is kind of my thought.
yeah, I think so. That's my belief.
Because what kind of rider would you classify yourself?
I would say like all rounder,
Like
but
kind
I
of like a
also
classics.
yeah, like kind of a ruler.
Yeah.
But I also like I think I can kind of say like I'm a time trial specialist.
Okay.
Even though I can't stand saying that.
Yeah.
I like to say like I like to focus on time trials, but
Yeah. No, that's cool. And so, like, because with Aguas, what I found is it favors you to go out hot.
mhm,
Like,
yeah,
it favors you because what happens is the air is so thin
yep,
that you just keep rolling. As long as you don't quit
yep,
pedaling, like you should keep rolling.
yeah. I
And that's
think
the big
like
thing.
to add to that, like I haven't posted like my power file publicly yet, but it
Mhm.
is something I know a lot of people are so curious about that.
Let's
So
chat about it.
I do plan on posting that with SRM. However, so what a lot of people don't realize, like, so with track is it's a fixed gear. There's one gear you choose, and like if you really wanted to, you could pedal backwards,
Yeah.
and you could ride your bike backwards. There's no brakes, so when you're starting, so obviously you have to put out this huge amount of power to get the gear rolling. But once you get it up, and so like I was shooting for about 120 RPM, 62 ish an hour.
Uh-huh.
And so once you get up to that speed and that cadence, the gear starts to push over itself. So your
Yeah.
power actually drops down.
Especially
Um,
with all the bearings and stuff that you probably are
yep,
hoping
all
to
the
have.
ceramic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't ride a powdered chain, but my chain was also, it was very good.
Yeah.
But like looking at like, say, like someone's file like Ghana, like who does 600 watts, he's in the reality, like if you put him on a road bike or like a normal bike, he would probably be doing like 620 or like,
Yeah.
if not more, because of the drivetrain on the track bike. It just keeps you rolling, like you said, with the air.
So are you releasing that that file with
Yeah, absolutely.
Velo News or something, or what are you doing?
Right now, it's kind of like the performance team I had kind of created around me. They're doing the analysis right now, and
Okay.
so they want to take their time and really
Break it
break
down.
it down. But I can tell you, like off the cuff, like I think I averaged about 520.
Okay.
The first kilo was like 680 or something pretty high. Obviously, like with the standing start, the normalized power is about 20 watts higher.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, what you also have to keep in mind is like I mean, that's pretty high relative, but like I think some of the higher end athletes could say, yeah, like I could do that. Like that's not impossible.
For sure, but it's
Um,
position. Like
you
you
know,
start getting into
a
everything.
lot of people forget, all right, you're doing this on a time trial, a pursuit bike, super aggressive position. You're also on a track. So like I was kind of naive in the fact like it's a track. You're going in circles.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's such a like it's just like there's such a I don't know how to say it, like
Like a
uh,
finesse, like a
there's
the
such a
control to
finesse
it.
to
Yeah,
it
yeah,
that so many people underappreciate. And that was the biggest thing that like I had to work on was just trying to perfect that. And um, I think like when I did the record, I think I couldn't have done it any better. On that day, like I wouldn't have changed anything. Like I'm glad I went out hard. And although I had a little bit of drop off on the end, like I gave it my all. And like that's all you
yeah,
can really ask for. And like you can have a plan going into it. Like um, I can like the schedule I had like that I talked to Gary right before. I'm like, all right, I want to start out doing a 6-8, 9-9, 9-9, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, and then start to ramp it up like with 4 laps to go. And so
yeah.
like that's a sweet plan. That would have put me at like 3:05.7.
Hmm.
But on a race day or like I don't know, game day,
Yeah.
a 10th day, or whatever you want to call it. You got to be able to adjust on the fly. And so when I heard that first lap, I kind of thought to myself, I'm like, oh, shoot, like I'm in for it.
But see, you were smart enough, and this is where the experience comes in.
Mhm.
Once you've cooked it, there's no
Yep.
backpack, there's no adjusting. It's game
No.
over. Like you
And
just
so
got embrace
that's
it.
what Gary and I really talked about. He's like, all right, mate, listen, like, there's no, like, I tell the girls, like, obviously he walks the line for the
Yeah,
TP. And so he never tells anyone to slow down because
yeah,
Gary gets it wrong sometimes or he doesn't get it wrong.
yeah,
He's like a couple tenths off
yeah.
at,
But
at worst.
he's also
Um,
taking it from the half lap.
yep,
So
exactly.
he's getting it the half lap. So if you ramp it on the front stretch,
Yep,
you could gain a second back around. You know what I mean?
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he never tells anyone to slow down. It's always maintain, if not
Hmm.
pick up the pace.
Yeah.
Um, and so I told myself, I just said, like, all right, this is it. Like, the conditions were super fast. So, like, outside, it was about like 20 degrees on the day. And then in the track, we actually were able to get permission to turn on the heaters, which made it awesome. And
Yeah.
so it was like 23 or 24 degrees inside the velodrome,
Yeah.
which is
It was
probably like,
cooking.
I don't know, is that like 74 degrees?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Roundabout.
yeah. No, it was super hot. So like the conditions were great. And also I know the barometric pressure a couple
Yeah.
days before it went down, which was awesome because I think there was a storm or something. Um, but what I would also like to say though is so I had like you can do all the planning in the world you want, but 2 days before the event, I had no idea if it was actually going to happen or not.
Really?
And I can go back and like if you saw like my training peaks and like all like my notes like in my notebook, like you'll see like I was planning on flying to Colorado Springs August and I'd be gone by September. And that's what I packed my bags for. And like I
So
didn't have any
why
wind.
why 2 days before?
So
What happened?
there were a few things that were going on. So I desperately wanted to make this official. Like I wanted because
Oh.
I'd been here for 3 months. I didn't want to just do like do whatever time and then have all these people say, oh, like, well, it's not this because of that and your
Mhm.
bike, whatever. And so I really wanted it to have the UCI official there, USADA to have the sample and electronic timing. So like there's no arguing if it's this or that. So to me, that was really important. And also like to the sponsors and everyone that was supporting me. Um, and so 2 days, and then it gets even funnier because like on the day, I had no idea, but apparently the head commissar that came, there was a fire up in Manitou Springs.
Oh
And
yeah, that same
so,
day.
yep, same day. And he had to evacuate like an hour before he was going to come to officialize the event.
Oh wow.
um, and so just to begin, like just organizing this kind of thing, especially with the COVID situation, was incredibly difficult. But I really just like Allison at the OTC was, she advocated hugely for me with the doctors at the Olympic Training Center, and being able to get permission. Like everyone that was in the facility had been tested, everyone wore masks. Like we tried to follow all these guidelines, and it also didn't help that Colorado or El Paso County, the cases started to go up.
Yeah, we just
So
hit red Friday, so like
yeah,
we go
no,
back on lockdown.
yeah, it's super unfortunate. And so like before we were training on campus and off campus together, and then we had to separate that about 2 weeks out from the 19th. But to go back, like, so I had planned on trying to do this in September and then October and then November. And
Yeah,
then it even got to the point where they like the UCI told me, they're like, all right, like, how does December 19th sound? And
Jesus.
I just said like, I'm very sorry. Like, I would love to, but like, I can't stick around any longer. Like,
Yeah,
by then, like, I'm starting things with rally, and like, I have to start training for next year. And so my off season, like, I had this awesome plan, like going on like a ski trip and doing some backpacking and all this and that. But um, yeah, like unfortunately that went away. But that's why like I'm so happy that like on the day, like I was able to do the time I did. Everything kind of came together, and um, I just feel super fortunate, especially like in this kind of situation that's going on. And like, I think what I was also so psyched about is like I had the live stream going, and I had almost at one point I think 700 people watching. And like to
sure.
me, like that was the biggest win at all, because I really wanted to kind of be able to show like people like everything that I'd been doing. And um that was just like huge for me, because nothing else is going on. And I think that also, I really want to show people like, if you really like put your mind to something and you're motivated enough to like devote everything. Because I feel bad because it's almost a little selfish, but like I just told my family, I'm like, listen, like I want to do this.
Yeah.
And like they're like, I have their full support, but I didn't see my parents for almost 4 months.
Well, dude, this is
um
nuts because like literally, I hope I'm not the only one, but I'm like listening to this, and
mhm.
I have to remember that was the junior world record. So that means
Yeah.
that you're 18, right? Or
Yep.
19 now?
I'm
18?
18.
Because
Yep.
it has to be race age 18, right?
Yep. I'm
That's what
18.
makes you a junior. So that means you turned 18 this year.
Yep.
You were 18 years old. You
Mhm.
said, "Hey, I'm going to do this."
Yep.
There's a lot of kids that say, "Hey, I'm going to do this." But then you
Yeah.
sat down, you made a plan.
Yep.
Then when you made the plan, you came and you sat down with arguably some of the best coaches in the world. And you
Yeah.
said, "This is what I'm doing. Here's my CDA. Here's my power. Here's my funding. Here's
Mhm.
how I'm going to fund it. Like here's how I'm going
Yep.
to pay for some of it. Yes, I might need some help in some other fronts, but this is how I'm going to pay for it." Dude, that's insane. So like the fact that you were even still able to break the record is like with just stress alone is
Mhm.
wild. And then to have almost, your junior worlds and things ripped away from you because of this global pandemic, which, dude, unfortunately you're not the only person that had that ripped
Yep.
away from you, but
No.
arguably you had a shot, you were a contender. And so the amount of respect I just gained for you on this call alone has been insane, because I was impressed with you from the get-go when you broke the record. I mean,
Mhm.
to be your age and to hold those kilos, like, it goes into my next question of, are you going to ride pursuit, man? Like, are you going to try to go for that too? Like, somebody's got to beat Lambie. I've tried. It's hard.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got a shot, dude. Are you going to try to go for that?
Yeah, so like on that pay, like on that front, like absolutely. Like there's a Nations Cup in England in April at the
Yeah.
very end. So like I could do the spring classics, and then I could carry really good form, and like also like managing my weight also is good. And so I think like absolutely that's something I definitely want to shoot for. And like I do think like right now, given like my form, and like I think I really wanted to just to go for the 4K just to see like what the hell, like just
What
to
could
see
happen?
like what I could put down like on the time. I think like right now I'd be around like the 405, 406 range.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think like given like a year or so, like I do believe like I can be competitive with Ghana.
Yeah.
Um, and even Ashton, like if he were to come back, and I think I haven't actually met him,
Yeah.
I
Who,
just know
Lamby?
of him. Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
he's a corn loving. He's probably one of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet in cycling.
yeah.
He does crazy training rides, but he does coffee shop stops in every single one. You would think he'd be like a super meticulous dude and like
Yeah.
wouldn't stop, but he's the kind of dude that does like 30 30s, and for 30 seconds he'll stop and pick up yarn. So he's a wild man. He's a wild man, and he's probably one of the hardest working individuals and one of the most relaxed at the same, you know what I mean? Because you know those
Yeah.
guys that are like super stressed 98% of the time. Like he works super hard, but he also
Hmm.
chills super hard. So he's a good
Yeah.
dude. Yeah. And so like I'm super thankful to you just for the fact that like I think you've revitalized the team pursuit program. I really do. Like in a way of like there's hope down the line. Like even if we went to 2024,
Yeah.
like the year 2028, you know,
Hmm.
what is it? 30, no, 32. So
Yeah.
2032, like it's insane to think about. And
No.
so obviously I can't wait to see you out there and hopefully get to line up next to you. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
and so now let's dive into rally. Like
Mhm.
you're growing up quick, I feel like. I mean, you've had to put your whole season together, funding and everything. Now you're
Yep.
getting the opportunity to ride with one of America's best teams and has been one of America's best teams for a while. How
Yep.
did that come about? How'd that conversation come about? Because I feel like
Yeah.
trying to get a contract right now in COVID is pretty hard.
No, it's very difficult. And so started talking to Jonas about like Jonas is the GM of Rally. Um, I started talking to him about like beginning of the summer, like back in May, and like it was pretty casual. Like he just said like, "Hey, I'm Jonas. This is my job, and like, um, I'd like to possibly like talk to you later down the road." And so like, I thought I was super fortunate. Like, um, obviously he's been around the block for a really long time, and like, I thought it could possibly be a very good opportunity. But I told like I had some other offers from a few other teams, and I really just tried to like I just kind of kept that to the back of my head and just I really was just full on focusing on worlds.
Yeah.
Um, and also like that's the beginning of the COVID situation, and I was just kind of grinding. And it wasn't until like I think I got pressured more and more like from teams and um, like as we got closer to worlds, and I just said, listen guys, like I just want to hold off, like I just want to focus on worlds, and then we can have these conversations afterwards. But it obviously then once worlds was canceled, that's when like all right, like I kind of had to make a decision because most people sign contracts kind of like in the spring, like late spring, and then also kind of towards like July, August, I want to say.
Yeah.
So it's pretty uncommon to sign a contract like in September or October.
Yeah.
It
It's an
wasn't until like
uncommon year. So,
yeah, of course.
yeah.
And so like I didn't really like formally talk to Jonas until about like August. And then I signed around August, September, I think, and then I don't know when it was publicly announced. A few months, like a couple weeks later after that. Um, and so it was kind of like everything that they had proposed. Like we talked about race schedule, kind of like he obviously asked like he wanted to see like the kind of person I am because I think they weren't necessarily interested in a young guy after Brandon. I think they kind of want to focus the team in other ways. Um, and obviously the team has big aspirations. Like it's no secret that they want to be on the World Tour stage.
Mm-hmm.
The team right now is Pro Conti, and so that also like helped out with me because like it gives me the opportunity to still do like the World Tour races, like the 2 point HCs, the 2 point, like I can be, they can give me the race schedule of a lot of World Tour teams, but then I also have the ability to race with, say, like the U23 national team and also like the lower end races that are maybe less competitive, but are
Yeah.
still hugely fundamental to like my development. Um, and so like the biggest thing for me was also like talking to teams is how um their funding and how stable it was like 4 or 5 years down the road. Because I didn't want to join a team and then have it fold the next year.
Mm-hmm.
um and so Rally, like their funding is it's very secure right now, and that also played a big role in it. But it was mostly race schedule, fundamentals of the team, their funding, and just like where I saw like I would have the best opportunity. And then ironically, like I rode for, or now it's passed. So like I rode for Hot Tubes, the junior
Yeah.
development team, and Hot Tubes has been around for 20 plus years. And what's so funny is like almost half the roster on the rally team is from former Hot Tubes riders.
Yeah, well, I mean, like it's talent and hard work, you can
Mhm.
tell have gone into both of those teams. Like
Yep.
sustainability at Hot Tubes,
Yep.
sustainability at Rally. I mean, Rally's been around forever. I
Hmm.
mean, and so to see like how that's kind of unfolded, like with
Yep.
Gavin Mannion and like those guys all kind of folding into that team, and even was it Ben King and Joey Roscoff just signed as
Yep.
well, and
Those two good guys.
great American cyclists. And I think it's always funny to me, like you really forget who's in the world tour that are
Yep.
American cyclists,
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
like Will Barta, for example.
Hmm.
Like everybody found out who he was again when he almost won a stage of the Giro. Like it's
Yep.
insane. And so, or was it the Vuelta? It's one of
It was
those.
the Vuelta, but yeah,
Yeah, the
same thing.
Vuelta. Yeah. So, but still, I mean, it's unreal, and it's like nobody ever really talks about these riders.
Yeah.
But they're there. They're working hard,
Right.
and that's kind of why I liked you, because when you were a junior,
Mhm.
like you were knocking on the door, but you're a year younger than Quinn, right? Or
Yep. Yep.
okay, so you were knocking on the door, and just based off this conversation, I feel like I can get an idea of who you are. I feel like if you have a coach you trust, and they
Mhm.
say, Magnus, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, even if that means that your results gone, you're
Yep.
gonna do it,
Yeah.
and you
No,
did
I'd
it.
say so.
So
I'm very much like I like consider myself a team player, and I would like to really like I joined Hot Tubes when I was 15, and from day one, like the first conversation I had with Toby is he asked me like, "Are you prepared to lose for the team to win?" And it was just like I had never heard anyone say that before, and like it was kind of hard because like I came from ski racing and I did cyclocross, so that's kind of individual, and like mountain biking is individual, but like this whole team aspect in road cycling was just is very foreign to me. And so that really I feel like since Toby has told me that, like it's definitely stuck with me, and it's I think something that kind of defines my character,
yeah,
um, and I'm hugely grateful for that, and because that's the power of kind of that relationship that you can form is like, or that mentality is like, I'll lose this race. However, I'm still a winner because the team's won. And to feel a part of that is greater than any kind of other success because
wow,
um, I think that's like what creates such a like we saw that at Road Worlds last year, like
yeah.
the kind of sacrifice you do. I don't want to say for the greater good, but for the good of the team. Um, and so like obviously like I knew going to Road Worlds last year, like my form came around. Like I think in the beginning of the season, like I knew like what it took, and like I just felt a little frustrated, but like I also knew just like I had to like continue grinding, and it only made me more hungry. And like um I knew if I just like continue working hard, like eventually it would pay off. And so going to Road Worlds, I knew like I truly believed like, all right, I actually have a chance at winning this. But I also know like my teammate is also one of the best juniors in the
Yeah.
world. And I also think that's unique, like especially for the US to have like two guys that have an almost equal chance at winning the race. And so I think
But
when
you
you
easily could have screwed it for each other.
oh, absolutely.
Easily could have.
We could have been second and
Third.
last.
Yeah.
Or,
And
no, we
last.
could have
Yeah.
been like second to last and last in the
For
race.
sure.
And that's what you see very common, like with like other countries like Italy, Germany, France. Like it's so competitive within the team, and especially like the elites, like in Belgium and Holland, like
You
who,
see it in the US. I
who,
mean, with the
yeah,
higher levels of guys. I mean,
yeah,
you
yeah,
do. It's just
yep,
people fighting for spots. I mean,
yep,
in the team pursuit, like
mm-hmm,
there was a lot of that. Like we'd blow each other up in training to try to make sure that we're in the World
yeah,
Cup rosters. It
yep,
it happens. And so I think and that's why I'm like listening to this. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this kid's maturity level and just like thought process is unreal. Cause you, you pretty much said, I will lose, but
Hmm.
eventually I'll get my opportunity to win. As long as I keep hustling and
Hmm.
keep training, keep fighting, eventually, because that person's going to move on. And
Yep.
then it's going to be my turn to move on. And when it's my turn to move on, that's when I'm going to go. And we're watching this all kind of unfold. So, I mean, man, I'm so impressed. It's
Yeah.
unreal. But,
Um,
but yeah, so 2021, let's say this
mhm.
vaccine becomes a thing. You know, you're
Yep.
going to training camp in December, like you said earlier, before January or whatever. What's your goals, man? What's 2021 looking like? I mean, how many people are you gonna put out of a job for this track world record? You can put Ghana on his toes. Like, what's 2021 look like?
Yeah, so like right now, like I'm gonna take some time off.
Okay,
Really just like I put so much time and energy, like mental strain, like on this record. So
for sure.
I'm just I just got home last night, and so
Thanks for
um
jumping on, man. I
no,
appreciate
no,
it.
no. I
Yeah,
know it's great talking to you, and so now it's just relaxing, like
sick.
enjoying time at home with my family, with my dog, and unfortunately I can't see my friends, but
Yeah,
at least I'm at home.
yeah.
um, and so then like we're gonna have a rally camp in December.
Okay.
I'll start training again like end of December, and I'll probably unfortunately have to leave my family again like
Yeah,
over the holidays,
yeah,
which they understand. They're super supportive. They understand it's my job now. And that's the big difference is also like with this record, like I think it's worth mentioning, I'm not getting paid.
yeah.
Uh, it's purely on my like for me and my team and sponsors. But um,
That's why I kept trying to reiterate the fact of you planning it. Like, I think
it,
like that blows my mind.
I,
Like,
I
still.
I will like I'll go on to like continue talking, but like to go back like the amount of times that I just like I was so close to just saying, you know what, this isn't worth it. Like the
Yeah,
mental like why am I doing this? And I don't really know what it like. I don't know what it was. Probably like this whole year of just kind of going down the drain, and that's maybe what like helped me like continue pursuing it. But at some point, like I was so close to just packing the bags and going home.
wow.
But anyway, so like um, I'll do the rally camp, start training. I'll probably be in California, out west, because it's good weather there.
Yeah,
And then we'll have another camp in Spain in January. I'll go to the wind tunnel as well in during the new year. So I'll get the bikes dialed, the equipment dialed.
which wind tunnels do you go to? Do you specialize, or you the one in North Carolina?
The A2 in North Carolina.
So,
Yeah,
so that's like
outside.
Heath Dotson and who else, right? Is it Heath
Yeah,
Dotson?
yeah. It's the A2. I don't
Yeah, yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah. And so then I'll go to Europe. I'll be based in Girona just because the team has a service course there, and also a lot of the teammates will be based there. And for like, I'm not crazy about kind of following like where everyone else is. Like, I like to kind of do my own thing, but like, um, I think later on in my career, I'd maybe like to move somewhere else that's maybe a little less quiet and um, crowded with all these
Cyclists.
like tourist cyclists and
Yeah.
kind of be able to like do my own thing. But I think for the first year, I think it's really important to like
Just
settle
pull the
in.
card.
Yeah,
Pull the World Tour card. That's or the future pro card. You gotta live in Girona, I guess, right? Like
you
you've
know,
made it once you live there.
yeah. And like I'll have a really good support network. So like with teammates, and I think that's really important the first year, especially being 18. I've never lived in Europe full time. I've been there max like 3 months for like
Yeah.
cyclocross, and my family lives in Norway, so like I've visited them for extended periods of time. Um, and so I'll be in Girona. We'll start racing hopefully like February. Um, and then the U23 races are all in March. Rally doesn't race that much in March because that's
Mhm.
when like Tirreno Adriatico, Paris-Nice, Milan-San Remo, all those races are happening. So um, I'll probably be able to kind of get a break from rally, race with the national team. So Gent-Wevelgem, Ronde van Vlaanderen, Roubaix is a little bit later, but some of those other really big 1 point Nations Cup races.
Yeah.
Um, And those are races I all want to target, of course. I'm not really sure what the roster would be like because a lot of the
For
U23,
U23?
a lot of the U23s we have now are on the World Tour teams, and so
Cody Lang, another ski guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so like I don't think Quinn would do like the national team stuff because
Yeah.
he'll be with Trek. So that's the cool thing with rallies. I can do the U23 stuff. Um, I think maybe Avenir I'd want to do later on in the year, but it's also I'd also want to get experience and rally kind of gets to dictate a lot of it. And I think the first year, like it's not too important, like for me to say like I have to do this race.
Yeah.
It's just kind of racing in a variety of stuff. And like I said, like I'm kind of an all arounder. Um, and so like maybe I'll be able to see like truly like, okay, I really like this and I know I'm really good at it and kind of specialize. But overall, like I want to continue because I think you're seeing like with the guys at the top level, like they can do everything well,
Yeah.
exceptionally well.
Yeah.
I should say, like you see Wout like sprinting for stage wins in the tour and then also leading Roglic up these like
It's insane, man.
unclassified climbs. And then he also TTs like super well. And so I think it all just complements each other. So
Yeah.
that's something I want to continue doing because I just think it's fun just to smash and just to go so deep and put everyone in the box. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, and then I hope to be able to start a couple, at least 2-point HC races, so I can get that kind of high end experience, and I can start to know what it feels like.
Mhm.
And so the biggest goal of the season will be Worlds because it's in Flanders. So that also I think suits me really well. It'll be like a mini, I don't know, like it's kind of by the Coxside area.
Yeah.
And then like the time trial is a point to point. It's not crazy technical, but there are some turns, but it's going to be definitely super windy.
So
Um,
are you gonna go for the time trial or are you gonna go for the
I'd
road
want to go for
or
both.
both? Both.
Both. Yeah,
That's the
I
goal
think I think going for the time trial only complements you going for the road race.
for sure.
So I want to go for both. Um, and especially like it being in Flanders would be just like super cool because that's like the pinnacle of European and also world cycling.
For sure.
Um, so I'm really looking forward to that. And um, yeah, that's
Dude,
kind of my season.
that's awesome, man. And yeah, I don't want to keep you all day, but we do this thing on the podcast, which I don't know if I let you know. I let some people know and I don't let other people know about this. But I do a segment on the podcast where essentially if you can have a cup of coffee with one person, dead or alive, who would
Ooh.
that person be? How would you take your coffee? And you're not old enough to drink, so the only other thing that you can choose is tea. So who would that person be and why?
Jeez, that's tough.
Yeah, man. I
You're
mean,
totally putting me on the spot here.
okay, so cool. I didn't send you the email. So usually I don't let anybody know because I just love to see what their quick gut reaction is. I get some
Yeah.
pretty good answers,
Um.
and it's anybody, man. I mean, like because like
Yeah.
if you're a ski racer, you pick ski guys, anybody.
Yeah. I would probably say like I'd probably want to sit down and drink coffee with um Ingmar Stenmark
Okay.
because he's the great. I think you can argue he's the greatest skier of all time.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, he's a legend.
Yeah.
He has the most World Cup wins of like 70 or 80, 89 wins. And obviously, like Lindsey Vonn was very close, but um, there weren't as many disciplines when he raced
Yeah.
back in the day. And no, Ingmar,
Yeah. How would you
absolutely.
take your coffee?
I would take it, you know, like I'm not like I don't like my coffee super sweet, but
Yeah.
like just like a little bit of milk.
Just enough milk to just like
Yep.
kind of give it enough. Okay. Cool. Well,
Yeah.
perfect, man. Well, thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate you jumping on and taking the
Yeah.
time, especially, now that I know the stressful 3 months that you had, like, because I think a lot of people think you just kind of rolled in here, did a couple track training sessions and just did it. So it's good to get the behind the scenes.
Mhm.
And yeah, man, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to check out Magnus's social media. He is riding for Rally next year, so check out Rally. Check out Hot Tubes as well. I mean, another freaking team that has put together a crazy talent, and it looks like not only are they talented athletes, but they are also super smart and super willing to listen in the sense of willing to sacrifice their freaking seasons for their teammates. So that's super cool. So check them out, all in the description below. Other than that, guys, peace. Thanks.